Welcome back to the Travsessed podcast. We're your hosts, Kim and Aaron. We are healthcare travelers and the creators of Travsessed, and we are sitting in St. Augustine Beach, Florida. I have no clue how we even got here. We're just going to break down how our life feels a little messy at the moment and just recapping our first ever Travsessed day trip, Portland, which was a lot of fun. And we'll talk more about that in this week's show.
Also, before we get into it, we have launched Travsessed Greece and Travsessed Oaxaca for next year. We've talked about this already, but we're going to start launching trips like 10 months to a year in advance to give people plenty of time to sign up and to kind of figure things out. We asked on Instagram and just like our audience in general, and it was like an overwhelming that people wanted to have a big time frame to be able to sign up for trips. And so that's what we're doing. So I guess that's, like 10 months in advance. And then we're launching Peru and Bali for 2025 tomorrow. So if you're listening to this on Thursday the 3rd, tomorrow, Bali and Peru are going to come out for next year. We will be sending out an email. Also, apparently there's an issue with our email. A lot of people are not getting it. So if you do not get an email tomorrow at Friday at 6 a.m. from us with all of the Bali and Peru deets, but you are interested in one of those trips, please reach out to us directly at hello@imtravsessed.com and we'll be able to give you the information.
Well, before Kim said that, I was even going to say, like, if you're interested in Travsessed trips and you have a specific location that you really want to go and do, I know it was really cool. Somebody from the Greece 2 trip basically made a statement. It's her second trip she's done with us, and she's like, I'm going on one Travsessed trip a year. Like, that's like super cool. So she'll pick her destination, and so just reach out to us on Instagram at Kim and Aaron G on Instagram, and just throwing in the DMs and saying, hey, like, I'm really interested. I really want to go to Peru. That way we see it, and Kim does a really, really good job of like making sure that you're in the know. So that is a really good way to reach out to make sure that you're not missing anything.
100. Okay. Let's get into it. So I feel like this podcast is going to be kind of messy.
Well, it's,
like our life right now.
Yeah.
Like, we're literally, Aaron's about to take Mimi to the vet. We have so much to do, and I'm like, okay, let's sit down and like do this podcast before you leave so that we don't have to do it later, because we're also both like really freaking tired. Yeah. And we're like, let's just sit down and talk about how disastrous our life feels right now in this moment, and kind of just have a candid conversation. I
do gotta say, we were running a trend there for a while where we were like Orange Theory Celsius podcast.
And we're back on track.
We're back on track, which is a good thing. This feels normal, but I will say, like, apparently today, at the time of this recording, is National Leg Day. Ugh. And fuck that horny shit. Like, no. That was brutal. And that was Kim and I's first workout back, and it was not because it was our first workout back. It was because it was just shit-faced brutal.
It was so hard. We are not going to be able to walk tomorrow, but I will say, the workout was perfect for what we needed. Like, it was legs, it was intense cardio with little recovery, and like, so I feel like it's exactly what we need, because we leave to hike Everest Base Camp on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Okay, so not that far. And so we're trying to squeeze in as many workouts as we can to try to just, get in the best shape that we can in the little amount of time that we have available. So I do feel like that is the workout I would want to do for like leg strengthening and cardio.
Totally. And I think too, like, just on that note, this just hit me whenever you were just saying that, but like, Kim and I know we can physically do it. That's not an issue. What I think a lot of it is getting enough workouts in to where we mentally feel that we are like back on shape. Does that make sense?
Mentally, yeah.
Like when you do like 4 or 5 Orange Series like in a row, you feel like, dude, I can conquer anything, right? It just gets your blood's flowing, you're feeling good, your muscles are sore, and then you're hitting these back-to-back workouts every day because we're about to hike for 12 days straight. So like doing 5 days of Orange Theory, I would never do on a normal basis, like back to back to back to back. But like doing it now kind of gives you that mental stamina to be like, dude, I just crushed this. So like I feel really in a good place.
I'm looking at this as a mental game because obviously, you know, we have very limited time. We've been traveling for over a month. We've been like drinking a lot more and eating and just out of our routine. And so, I mean, you're trying to clean all that up in a week. Like physically, that's not going to happen, right? No. But you just feel good when you start to move your body again and get in better shape physically. But for me, I'm looking at it as a mental game because all of our hiking trips are it's more mental than physical, right? Like physically, yes, it is hard. Like, don't get me wrong, they're hard, but it's more of this mental push to power through. And like knowing you can do it, knowing you're capable of it, knowing you're strong enough to do it. Your body is strong enough to do it, but it's the mind that becomes the problem. So in Orange Theory, like today it was all outs with very quick recovery. And then we had to do it again. Like and another all out, and then a quick recovery, and then another all out. And then it
went to endurance.
Right. So there was hardly any recovery time, and so that was really challenging. But I looked at it from this mental game of like, okay, like you're pooped, you're wiped, you can barely breathe, but you got to keep going. Like get your head in the game and go. And that really helped me, like preparing for when you feel tired or you're having a hard time breathing and this and that, but like you have to keep going. I was just looking at it from that perspective of like, you got this, come on. And like, it helps me push through because half the battle is the mental battle.
I will say too.
More than half of it.
You know, if you've ever been to Orange Theory, you're running on the treadmills and there's like huge mirrors and like, I heard this thing a long time ago and I never really put it to practice, but I've been doing it since I've been in Orange Theory. And when I feel really tired, I look at myself in the mirror and I smile. And like, it does change your body dynamics. I get goosebumps every time I smile when I'm like pushing really hard and your whole demeanor changes. Like you can go harder, you can go faster, but obviously you're still tired. And so you don't want to sit there and be smiling the whole time. But I've noticed I do that.
That would just be creepy.
Right. So like I do that now when I'm really feeling like I can't go anymore. I'll smile and then usually the song kind of helps and like your body gives you another push. And so I'm going to make sure I use that because we are in one of the most beautiful places in the world, in my opinion. Like seeing Everest and the Nepal and all that area is going to be gorgeous. And so just trying to smile through it, you know?
I love that. Well, and I think it's funny too. It's like what you click into, right? Your mind knows what to prepare yourself for. So, you know, like today, we went for a walk on the beach and I was like, I gotta turn around. We're going too far. I don't want to walk anymore. This was like not even a mile, right? I'm like, I'm hungry. I'm feeling tired. I gotta pee. I want to go home. I don't want to keep walking. This is too far. But it's funny when you're on a hiking trip, right? And you're like, dude, I'm pooped. Like, I want to go have a coffee. I want to sit down. And the guide's like, okay, we just have like,
4 more hours.
For 5 more miles. And you know that you have to get yourself there. Like you can't stop. You're not just going to go have a coffee somewhere. You're not just going to be like, well, I'm camping here for the night, so sorry. Like, so your mind clicks into something greater than yourself to get you to where you need to go, even if you're tired and over it and gotta pee and need all the things. Like when you mentally know, okay, but I've got to go 5 more miles. I don't know how that happens, but you just click in and it's like a different mode. It's like, but you just end up getting yourself there, and then you're like, how did I get here? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it also helps with the people that you're with too. You know, because there's been times where Kim and I are on hikes, like 17-mile hikes, and like it feels like it's never going to end, and then we start kind of going down that path of like, I don't want to walk anymore, and then like there's only 2 of us to carry that energy versus 14 of us.
That's true. The energy of the group is so important too. Yep. But anyways, okay, so we can talk more about Everest and stuff next week because next week this podcast next Thursday we will be recording it in Nepal, which is insane. It's insane. So we're just in this weird place. Like we got home from Greece and then like we were only here for a couple, we were gone for over a month, and then we were home in Florida. We only had a couple of days, and then we went to Portland to do our first day trip, which was really cool. We'll talk a little bit about that. And now we have...
Oh, you're right.
What?
We were home in between. Mm-hmm. It literally feels like it's been one constant thing.
No, we were home
right.
We had 3 days, which
Jeez.
we'll never, ever, ever do that again.
Nope.
But we did. And now we have less than a week, and then we're off to Nepal.
Which we'll never, ever, ever do again.
No, but honestly, I will say if we did not do the Portland trip, we would have had almost 2 weeks at home.
Perfect. Which
for me is perfect. Like, to have that downtime, to get back into a routine, to get back into having structure. And, you know, when you're traveling for a whole month, it's like, for me at least, I know people are different, but I love traveling. I love, you know, running the trips and like being with all the people and eating all the food and having all the fun and drinking all the wine, all the things. Like, it's so fun. But then I crave just routine and structure, and like that's what fills me back up and gets me ready to go again. And so it's like I crave, you know, home cooked meals and getting back in the gym and having quiet mornings and having reflection time and just decompressing and like resetting after coming off like 2 trips, right? So that time is so important. Mm-hmm. And so because it felt like we landed and like our life just feels chaotic right now because we have, you know, some stuff at Aaron's mom, some stuff at my sister, some stuff in storage. Like, where are we going? What are we doing? Like, you know, we have to go get our stuff from here, but then we're staying here. And like, it's exhausting. Like, we were both just like, I'm so exhausted from making decisions, from having our stuff spread out all over the place, driving here, going here. Like, I feel like our life in this moment feels very unorganized and all over the place. And that, I hate that feeling.
No. And it used to be like, I don't know what's happened recently, but like, we used to pop in suitcases, we'd get an Airbnb, we'd get settled, we'd get on the groove, like back in the groove pretty quickly. But now it's like the entire Jeep, I couldn't even see out the back window. And we literally don't even have all of our stuff. And like, it was just literally trying to get all the things from Kim's sister's house, grabbing the things from my mom's house. And then we have like our kitchen bin. And then and it's like we're starting to like take all of this stuff with us because, number one, the first thing that we want to do is get home and start cooking the way that we cook and the foods that we like. And I'm not buying garlic and salt and pepper and all that kind of stuff that a lot of the Airbnbs don't have for the food that we cook. And so it's like just doing all of that is like adding up.
It's just all adding. It's all adding up. We're in this like decision fatigue, and like we're also like, okay, where are we taking a contract when we get home from November? Like, we've been going back and forth about, are we both going to take a contract? Is just Aaron going to take a contract? Because I haven't taken a contract in 2 years because I've been full-time in Travsessed. And so we're like, is the money worth it? But is it like, or is it going to set us back in like Travsessed things? Because with both of us working, it's just way harder to manage everything. But we also want to hire an assistant to help us with Travsessed, which would give us a little bit more space. So then could we both work? We've been doing interviews. It's just like, I feel like since we've got home, I don't know, it's just like this crazy whirlwind of like a million different things going on, a million decisions to make. What's the right thing? What's not? And then also planning to go to freaking hike Mount Everest. Like, you know, I'm just like, oh my God, dude, I'm fucking tired.
Yeah. No, yeah.
And again, I don't...
In a beautiful way.
This isn't about like complaining and this and that. This is all things like we arrange our life this way. This was our schedule that we created, and we are so grateful for what we get to do, right? The fact that we ran a Oaxaca trip. We had 2 Greece trips we had 2 trips in Greece, one with a host, and then Aaron and I ran one. And then we did our first day trip, and now we're going to do Everest with 13 other travelers. Like, it's freaking amazing, right? Well, like, I'm grateful for it, and like, it's my dream. It's amazing. But in this moment, because when we come back home to Florida right now, because we're in this interim of we're not sure exactly what the next step is, it feels so chaotic when we're here because our life is very scattered here, that I'm just craving an ease. I'm craving like to just come back and regroup in a peaceful place with all of my stuff and not have to make a million decisions, so that I can save the energy to then go out and like go to Everest. You know, I think that's what it is.
We're finding appreciation in like the small things, like to have like all of my clothes hung up in the closet, and I only put the clothes that I'm going to take to Everest in my suitcase, but I know when I come home, those same clothes are going to be hung in that closet. Like, our stuff is there, you know, our own cups, our own, like, everything that we want. We just basically have broken it down that it is imperative that we find a place that we can return to instead of bouncing from Airbnb to family member's house to all the different areas. And that's priority one.
100%. And I don't know, we've talked about this a lot, but like, we don't know what that looks like. We don't know what the plan is. We don't know our next steps when we come home. We're really just not sure. And I think too, just kind of being in that limbo of, you know, we don't know what's next. We don't know what that looks like, but just knowing that if we are going to continue to run trips in the way that we are doing it, that we have to be able to have grounding time in between to refill our own tanks, and for things to be easy when we're home, that we can get reorganized and get focused, so that we're not expelling so much energy into the chaos of all the things that come with coming home, because we're now finding our own place, and we used to always stay with family, but we're at a place now where we just have to have our own space. Like, I want a quiet environment. I don't want to be in someone else's environment on their terms and their schedule, and we have to show up and we have to be a part of everything. Like, we're here for a limited time, and we just have to have our own space.
But I will say, like, kind of on the gratitude of all this, right? Because it does, I mean, we are like throwing it out there, the realness of like what we're seeing in our own lives right now with managing all of this. And like, I will say, it was before the Orange Theory workout, one of the girls came in and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And she was like, "Oh, it's my day off today, so I wanted to get one of the guys was like, "A day off, man, I could use one of those." And they were just talking about that and how much they've been working. And then it's like, I've been taking these interviews, and some of these facilities are just like god awful, right? And like listening to like, that is everybody's day to day. Like, they do that every single day. And I know when you're in it, like, you might not see it as clearly, but like, there was a moment of gratitude of like, they're dealing with this, and I'm gearing up to go hike Everest with 14 badasses. Like there's so much gratitude in that. We're just realizing that we need to refill our tanks in a different type of way to keep up with this energy.
100%. Yeah, no. And that's where it's like, I don't want it to come off complaining, because it's not at all. Like, we're so freaking grateful for everything that we have and we're building and everything. But yeah, we just know that in the interim, we have to have a space. And, you know, even like, our storage unit is up by my sister's house, and like all of our stuff for Everest is in there. So it's like, okay, we have to unpack everything from Greece and Oaxaca. We need to drive up there to like figure out all the stuff for Everest. We go all the way there so that we can have our stuff and like really get organized with this trip. And the elevators are broken, and we can't get into our unit.
Yeah.
And we were just like, come on.
Yeah, there was no stairwell. It locks behind you, so you can't go up and down.
Yeah. I'm like, what the heck? So we weren't even able to go get all of our stuff from there. So now we have to go back, and it's kind of felt like a lot. And also, like, it's funny because on top of just kind of regrouping from a trip and then gearing up for another one, also interviewing for jobs. And as travelers, we know like there's so much adrenaline in that, and it's like
quick decisions.
Yeah, quick decisions. And does this feel right? And is this what we should do? And where, like, there's so many things that come up, and it's like, it's just constant energy. But we really want to know where we're going before we leave. So then we're just like, okay, cool. Like, we got a plan when we get home, and like, that feels really good.
That's interesting. Are we just chasing the fact that we just want to know where we're going?
Yeah, I think so. We want a fucking plan, man.
Yeah. It's interesting.
You know? So anyways.
If anybody's out there, wants to donate like a Travsessed headquarters, we're kind of into that. So if you have a house in a cool location.
A house that you can give us.
You would like to donate to the Travsessed,
yeah, we'll take it.
We'll take it.
Has to be pet friendly.
Pet friendly and in a cool location. So,
Hit us up.
Yeah.
So we went to Portland for our first ever Travsessed day trip, which was really fun. And so this is something that we're also going back and forth about, because we really want to do more US stuff, and the community wants US stuff, and these meetups and these get-togethers that, again, aren't necessarily going to fly to Nepal to hike Everest, but maybe just getting together and doing a hike in Colorado or something, right? But like getting the travelers together more often in real life to do cool shit together. Like, that was always the idea behind the day trips. And Portland was the first one. And so we were really excited about it. Again, like, I'm glad that we did it, but in hindsight, I would never have booked with the timing, because we were just so fried from Greece that we were like, I just want to like be.
Yeah, we still pulled it together.
Oh, but right, we still went because we said we were going to go, and it was such a fun weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But what? Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, it's one of those weird things that we still don't know what was going on. Maybe it's just because it's like leaf peeping season, but like Airbnbs, hotels were like $900 a night, $500 to $900 a night in the prime downtown locations. And so, it wasn't an issue of like finding something outside and taking an Uber, blah, blah, blah. But it was just like insane, right? Like, we waited to the last minute, of course, to find a spot. But it was nice. We had beautiful weather. It was literally the ideal northeastern weather that you could have possibly had. I mean, it was absolutely stunning. Oh. And it was exactly what we needed, coming off of like Oaxaca, hot, Greece, hot. Like,
it was like the perfect fall New Englandy weather. It was like in the 60s, sun was warm, like cooler at night. I mean, it was a freaking dream. It felt really good to be up in New England and kind of have that little break from the heat, because Florida is still like hot AF. But yeah, we ended up spending so much money.
Yeah.
And so again, looking back, like, okay, we really want to do the US trips. That's so cool. We had a good time. We also had like 4 people cancel last minute. Which we've never had.
No.
And so we ended up having a group of 4, which was perfect. It was such a fun group. I feel like we had the best time. And 3, we knew one of the girls, we're actually hiking to Everest with her next week, but it was 3 new people, which is really fun. But yeah, 4 people canceled. So we were, for all different reasons. And it was literally like the day of and the day before.
Yeah.
So we were like, holy shit, okay, that hasn't happened before. But yeah, so we want to do these US trips, but also like it was so expensive for us to do that we're like, well, this isn't sustainable. Like, we can't just be like flying around the US, like spending so much money. It's so much energy and all the things that we're like, I don't know. We're going to have to kind of rethink how we do this.
Yeah, rethink how we do it. And plus, like, we planned wine country, and that was like so expensive. Just like the US, we have to figure out, like, because again, we want to do it the Travsessed way, right? So it's not just like a meetup where we meet up at a brewery, although that would be fun. But like, we want to have something special in that area that we do that's off the beaten path. That's something, unique in a way, and like figuring out transportation and like kind of doing it in a mini Travsessed trip is expensive.
Yeah.
And so it's like the US, I don't know, man, like transportation and all that crazy stuff. It's like, it's stuff that we don't even think about really in other countries, because it's just like part of it, right? But like here in the US, it was a major expense. And so
Well, even with our wine country trip, it's like, you know, we ended up having to not even plan the trip exactly how we would want to do it, because we wanted to go to Sonoma Coast and maybe do some hiking or an adventure, kayaking, whatever. But the trip itself was already so expensive because of transportation and because of the the company that we were going through. And it was like the company that we originally wanted was like a husband and wife, but they weren't available in November. And this other place that was like really cool but just super expensive, we're like, okay, this is already so dang expensive and we can't even add on what we wanted to add on. So we're like, this isn't working.
No, and some of the wineries were treating us like a wedding party. And like putting like a 20% group like extra charge on the fact just because we're a group. Not like, oh, thank you for coming. Like, we'd love to have you guys and thank you for paying this. It was like, we're going to tack on an extra 20% because you're a group. Like,
yeah, it was just,
yeah.
It was, so we have to kind of rethink. Now, okay, so wine country is very expensive. And I will say, like, most of the trips that we want to do in the U.S. will be like more hiking based, camping based, more outdoorsy stuff. So that will be cheaper in general but yeah, I think we just, after kind of the Portland trip and seeing how much money we spent, you know, out of our own pocket and this and that, it was like, okay, we kind of have to, and this is just some behind the scenes stuff of Travsessed, right? Like, we have to kind of, it's something we really want to do, but we do have to rethink how we're going to do it that's sustainable and works.
Yeah.
Because that is not sustainable for us.
No.
No. But all in all, it was a really fun. It was. I
really enjoyed it.
It was so much. Like, I had so much fun. But you know, we went out and we drank a lot, and then the next day we just wanted to like be home. And our flight didn't leave. It was supposed to leave at 5:55 from Portland, so we had the whole day. Which sounded great in theory, but when we woke up, we were hungover. We're like, I just want to like be home in my own bed. Like,
we had to negotiate to check out at 12, which then still left us like, you know, 3 or 4 hours to play around, and like we did not want to go anywhere.
And it was the most beautiful day, but we're like, oh, I don't freaking want to. I just want to be home, you know. But we ended up going and having like a really good lunch and walking around, and it actually felt good to get out and get some fresh air. Went to the airport. Our flight was delayed like 2 hours. Yeah. And the Portland airport has no lounges. Like, it's not the kind of airport you want to be stuck in.
Yeah.
And so we didn't even get home to Orlando until, 11:30?
Yeah. 11:30. Then we had to, you know,
drive to your mom's.
Then, of course, the park and go guy wants to sit there in the parking spot and wait for every flight to come out. When it's like, dude, can we please just go? Like.
So, yeah. It ended up.
Yeah, an hour drive to my mom's. We showed up at my mom's at 11:40 p.m.
Oh, well, then we landed at
we landed at like 10 something.
So, yeah, it was just a very long weekend. If I could do it differently, I would have just flown in, because we came in on Friday. So I would have just flown in early Saturday morning, showed up, did the day trip with the group, and then got an early flight home the next day. Like, that would have been way better.
Totally.
So anyways.
Yeah, because then we're like there, and of course Kim and I are like lobster rolls, and like, you know, $200 later after the amount of lobster rolls we ate.
$200? Way more than that.
Well, I'm saying per lobster roll.
Well, it's not $200 per lobster roll.
I mean, for us to eat. It was like $140 lunches.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot
and
of
no
lobster
drinks.
rolls. I know. It was crazy, but I will say it was that I'm like lobster rolled out, I'm chowdered out, which is what I wanted to come home and like, because lobster rolls and chowder are like two of my favorite foods. So, I don't know.
Except you couldn't find a hot one.
Until the last day. So
and that still was borderline not hot.
Yeah, but it was delicious. It was my favorite. So there's two different types of lobster rolls. There's Connecticut style, which is warm lobster meat with hot butter and lemon. And then there's the main lobster roll that's like cold with mayo. We're Connecticut lobster roll people. I love it warm with the lemon. Oh my God, it's so good. So the two places that we went when we first got to Portland to get lobster rolls, they no longer heat the meat. they only, for the Connecticut style, they only put warm butter on top. And I'm like, okay, can you make an exception? Like, I want my meat warm. That's part of the experience. And they're like, no, we can't do that because, you know, it takes too long. And they just stopped doing it, which I think is such a disservice. Like, that's a horrible move.
No, and then they kept trying to sell it of like, our butter's hot.
I'm like, I don't give a fuck about the butter. I want the meat warm.
Yeah.
That's what I'm paying $50 for this dang lobster roll. So we got cold ones, and then on our last day of the day, we were hungover. We went down to this place that I confirmed to make sure they had hot lobster meat. Luke's on the water. It's a really great spot, beautiful spot. And we had our only hot, true Connecticut style roll.
Yeah. And
it was amazing. But yeah, the meat's not like piping hot. It's just warm-ish.
For me, it was perfect. But even when I bit into it, I was like, ooh, this is not...
It's not hot, but listen, it was delicious. I loved it.
Hey, as long as you care, because the first two, it was kind of sad seeing your face. Like, knowing that you spend so much money on those things, and then it was just like, they were just cold meat, which I love. I like cold food. I like room temperature food.
Yeah.
I feel like the flavor's there and doesn't burn my mouth, but Kim is like hot food.
Yeah. I mean, it tasted good, but it wasn't the same.
You were so disappointed.
I was. The first one, because I was shocked. I was like, what do you mean? This is common practice. Like, you warm the meat. You put the warm butter on the warm meat on the warm New England hot dog roll that has a slit at the top. Like, that is what this is. And then I put lemon on top. Like, what do you mean you don't? Like, that's ridiculous to me. It doesn't make sense.
Well, you were like, I'll have a Connecticut, and she was like, we only do Connecticut, and it was like mayo, and we're like, wait, do you not know
Yeah, she was like, Maine or Connecticut's with mayo, and I'm like, no, Connecticut's with butter, bitch. Get your fucking facts straight.
And warm.
Like, yeah. Anyway, I have no time for that.
No, that was garbage.
So anyways, I think just wrapping this up, like, I don't know, is this podcast even like...
It's the real life with Kim and Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, again, we always try to be like candid and open of like what's going on in our life or like what's happening behind the scenes with things. And again, I never want to show up, and be like a complaint session or something, but you know, and that's not what it is, but it is what's going on with us, and it is how we have felt for the past week of just like, what are we doing with our life? Like, what is actually happening? Like, I'm so sick of the chaos all the time and like where we're going and all, like, I'm over it. And we've said this many, many times, but I feel like I've hit a threshold of, I don't know what all of this is going to look like. I don't know what the plan is. I have no clue what the next steps are, but I do know that if we are going to continue to run trips and to kind of be out in the world and doing these things, that this home life situation something has to change, because I can't keep living like the Tasmanian devil.
I agree.
And so anyways, we're going to try to figure it out. Also, I kind of touched on that before, but hiring an assistant is something that we 100% need to do, that I know will also help. Because I just feel like, you know, we run the trips and we're consumed, but then we get back and it's like a million things need to be done that if we could have someone helping us along the way.
Full time.
That would be so amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it would be so helpful, because I don't like continuously feeling like there's always something to do. I always feel, not that I always feel, but like there's always something to do. There's an anxious feeling of like even the other night, like we wanted to go for a walk on the beach, and it's like, oh no, we got to do this. And it's like, I don't want to constantly live my life feeling like I have a million things to do and I'm never caught up. And so I know if we have someone helping us that can help take the load off, it will allow us to feel more free and have more space for ourselves and also to do other things.
Totally. Yeah, no, I think that's what we've just evaluated with, like, coming back to our own place after a trip and also having somebody to help keep things running while we are on the trip. Because, I mean, again, it's like, look at Everest, right? 12 days, no service, like no phones, nothing, no emails, nothing. So when you get done, it's just like bing, 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 bing. And it's like if somebody was monitoring that and helping us, it wouldn't feel as overwhelming.
When we get back.
Totally.
It would help with the chaos when we come back to quote unquote real life. So
another positive note, we have Mimi back.
We've got Mimi LaRue back, which makes me so happy. She's cuddling right now on my lap. Daddy is about to take her to the vet.
Yeah, I get to be the bad guy.
To get her arthritis shots.
Got the arthritis.
She got that arthritis. And I will say too, like, we're in our Airbnb in St. Augustine right now. We're here until Sunday. We've been here now for 2 days. I already feel more chill. I already feel a little bit more reset. If I had our stuff here where I could like pack and get organized for Everest,
yeah, that's true.
That would really help. So I think again, it's just like it always feels chaotic landing at the airport and then the whirlwind that happens after that. But then once we actually get settled somewhere, I'm like, oh, I feel like I can breathe a little bit. So
totally.
Anyway.
All right. Well, that's that.
That's that, folks.
Next podcast will be live from Nepal.
Live from Nepal. Holy shit. And if you're interested in the Bali, Peru, Greece, or Oaxaca trip, make sure to check your emails. Like I said, if you did not receive an email from us, but you are interested in any of those trips, just reach out to me.
Totally.
And I think that's it.
That's it.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week from Nepal. Have an awesome week. Toodaloo.
Bye.